And so he's going to talk a little bit more, and I think even in an even deeper way, probe all of you to establish this idea of exploratory mentorships and explore different ways that you could use that in your mentorship with your students. And so we'll have a short time for question and answer at the very end, and we'll close it out, and that'll be the day. So hopefully at the end of today, you will have sort of a draft. We can have sort of a draft of our Mentor Network mission statement that I'll email to everybody after this meeting, and you'll be able to, or you'll feel equipped to lead exploratory conversations with your mentees moving forward. So really quickly, as some student updates, roughly 50% of our students are remote this semester, which I'm sure many of you have already sort of been working with your mentees in different time zones, and as they struggle with different challenges to tune into their classes remotely. But I think that this is helpful to know as you work with your mentee, thinking about what is sort of our culture and the atmosphere like on campus. Right now, it feels very much like a college campus might feel during the summer. Like there's very few people. There's not a whole lot of traffic in between classes. But I think there's still a lot of learning happening, and we're learning a lot about like how we can deliver excellent content in a virtual setting or a hybrid setting in some cases where we have students in person and then other students remote. So the students, as I've mentioned before, Lynn has switched to this term schedule. So they broke the traditional semester up into 5 separate terms, or 4 separate terms. And instead of taking 5 classes over the course of a semester, students take 1 or maybe 2 classes in each term. So right now, students have completed their first term, their first class, which is like a boot camp sort of style of learning, where they attend the same class every single day for about 2.5 hours every day, and they're finished within a month. And so right now they're sort of in the midst of term B. And I think that for a lot of our students, they're already starting to look towards the spring semester to plan ahead. So for some of our international students, they're asking themselves what the question, like, how does it look to if I were to consider coming back to campus in the spring? How plausible is that? And I imagine that as you have discussions with your students, they might have a lot of questions around that. And so if you ever feel like they have a question about like returning to campus that is out of your depth, feel free to send them to us, and we're happy, even if we don't have the answer, we're happy to connect them with the people who do. And so the final part of this sort of announcement is I'm really excited that on the 19th and to 21st of October this month, we are hosting an event that we're calling E3, which stands for Educate, Empower, Employ. And the whole purpose of this event is to help bridge the gap between school and career for our students. And especially as this is our first year with a fully built out sort of program. This is going to be our first year with a graduating class in the spring. And so we're trying to look ahead and figure out how we can set those students up to achieve success by the time they graduate. And for us, success looks like either they will pursue further education going on to get their master's, they could get a job with some sort of employer, whether that's a nonprofit organization or a corporation. And our idea is that, like, if they were to get a job, they would be able to still work in some sort of area that's aligned to their mission and what they're really passionate about. Or we would consider them successful if they were able to earn a salary from a venture that they started. And so on the third day of E3, we're piloting this event. This is the first time we've ever done this, but we want to run somewhat of a career fair for the students to actually use some of the things that they will have learned in workshops earlier on in that event. And so for the students on more of a venture track who are thinking of starting their own ventures, they're gonna have a workshop on different ways to fundraise for their venture or different ways to earn investment. And so in the venture track on this third day, we would love to set them up with professionals who can listen to their pitch for funding specifically and provide them feedback. So, and we'd love to open this event to any mentors who would be willing to join us. And so if you want to listen to maybe some other students besides your specific mentee and listen to them pitch their venture and then provide them feedback, as if you were thinking about investing in their venture, then I think this would be really helpful in sort of these like 15-minute sessions. Another option for our mentor network, if you're available, is for our more career-focused students. We would love to hold interviews, like 15-minute interviews for students, to give them as much practice as possible interviewing for positions. And so if you work for a company or you have a company that is hiring for jobs or internships, we would be happy to set you up with up to 4 students for interviews for those positions. And then even if you aren't hiring for a specific position, I think we can still set you up with students for mock interviews, and they can bring their resume, and you could interview them and then provide them feedback on how they interviewed. And I think that will do a lot to prepare students to enter the workforce once they graduate. And so if you would like to participate in E3, or if you can help us out, we would greatly appreciate that. You just feel free to send me an email and I can follow up with more details. So moving on to the bulk of our programming today. Thank you all for coming. Once again, I'm really excited to dive into this sort of professional development for mentors today. And so you can see on this slide, I pasted our Watson's mission statement. And so at Watson, our mission is to create a new learning model that accelerates the solutions brought forth by the next generation through world-class training, powerful networks, and mentorship from global leaders, entrepreneurs, and thinkers. And so I want you to, looking at this or this mission statement, I want you as a mentor to think, what would a Watson Mentor Network mission statement look like? And I don't think that our mission statement in the Mentor Network necessarily has to be the same as Watson's overarching mission statement. Maybe it aligns in some ways, but maybe in other ways it's a little bit different. And so I would think about, like, what values do you think are really important in the mentor network or in that relationship between the mentor and the mentee, and what are some of the goals in the mentor network? What are some of the reasons that maybe you joined the mentor network? And I want you to think about that and think about how we can combine all that into a mentor network mission statement that we can all work under. And so in a moment, Alberto's going to send everybody off into breakout rooms with a few other mentors. And I would love for you to spend about 10 minutes to discuss with the other mentors, what are those values? What is the mission of the mentor network? And see if you can come up with some sort of shared mission statement. Once we come back together after those 10 minutes, I'll ask each group to share out, and I'll be recording each group's mission statements that you sort of come up with. And then after this meeting, I'm going to compile all of those and try to create one mission statement that encapsulates the ideas that everybody comes to the table with. So before we're sent off into breakout rooms, does anybody have any questions about what we're about to do?
Hey, Nick, no questions, but I do have to leave at 1:30. I have a standing meeting, all staff meeting that I do at this time every Tuesday. So I got to run early.
I appreciate you letting us know. Whatever group you're in, make sure that everybody knows that you should talk first.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions about what we're about to do? Okay, so in that case, you should get a little pop-up soon that says join a breakout room, and just plan to come back here ready to share a mission statement for our mentor network.
This is sort of rough, to provide guidance, mentorship, and resources to the solutions brought forth by the next generation while challenging them to broaden their thinking and align their strategies.
Awesome, I love that, thank you. And just so you know, we're recording this, so my plan is to go back later and collect everybody's mission statement and then try to bring them all together under one overarching mission statement. Thank you, Madison.
I'll put it in the chat box.
That would be even more helpful. All right, so does someone from one of our other groups want to share?
Sure, I can. Yeah, Hartman, did you want to go, or I can go?
Please go ahead. You took good notes.
All right. So foster trusted relationships to mentor students to help develop, focus on their careers, beliefs, social startup ambitions, and further their mission towards a better tomorrow.
Awesome.
And I shall do the same and put it into the channel. And I put in, there's obviously there's words that can be removed or swapped out. But yeah, we're trying to tie together the different aspects of what it means for us to have that relationship with the students, but then also what we're trying to help the students with and help them accomplish, and then putting that into that social context.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that I think both of those mission statements, they provide a lot of space for the students to explore on their own, right? And like in this one, they're to further their mission. I think that's so important to Watson and like what we do, but also like each student's mission could be very different. And so it still provides lots of space for students to explore on their own. And same like with the first one where you said to broaden their thinking and then align their strategies. So for me, that's like take everything really wide and then refine it. And I think that our mentor network does a really great job in helping our students work through that process. Awesome. So we have one more group, I think, that to share.
Jerry, I think you might be muted. I see you trying to talk.
No.
There you go.
Okay. I'm in group 2, I think, and one of our individuals in there had mentioned to fuel mentees' dreams as a short one. But then we talked about also how we can be a ground wire for our mentees to help them really consider what their dreams are, what their ambitions are, etc., and to give them objective and practical advice. And not to be judgmental, but to really be talking and including a discourse. And I did mention in our group that the whole COVID thing has really added a whole new dimension now. And what I've had contact with mentees recently has been how to deal with the COVID situation, the stress and all of that. And also for international students, especially if they're here for the first time, how to deal with some of the things more practically along the lines of homesickness and how to deal with that. And everyone's hunkered down into their own caves right now, into their own rooms and sheltering in place. And so they're not feeling that there is a lot of opportunities for interaction. And our interaction could be one in which they can really, as I think you guys have used the word, explore things, their thoughts, their sentiments, their feelings, what's going on in their minds right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up because I think that, you know, in a lot of our discussions prior to this event, we are talking about how, you know, we've done mentorship in the past, but in some ways mentorship, like we've never done mentorship like this before because we've never had to deal with a global pandemic before. And so it might be a little bit more than what some of you signed up for, but I'm sure most of you are having experiences where you're having conversations with mentees that go beyond your mentors or their mission, and are also about, you know, their struggles in terms of like learning remotely, or in terms of like being a part of a different culture, or, you know, maybe they're international students who are here, but their family's back home and they're worried about their family and how their family is facing the pandemic. And so I think that those are like when you thought, maybe when you signed up for this mentorship, all of you are here because you're leaders and professionals and have a great sort of depth of business insight to share. But I think that for a lot of our students, they couldn't do this kind of work if they don't address some of these other issues as well. And so as a mentor, I think it's great to have you here to appreciate and provide space for the whole student. So I'm going to share my screen again. And like I said, we'll go back and I will try to refine that and collect everybody's thoughts to create one big mission statement that we can all work under. But I want to move on to, and I'm going to pass it off to Peter Marcus. I've already been talking plenty as it is. And Peter Marcus runs Marcus Coaching, as he was sort of telling us about prior to this meeting. Someone introduced him once as a streetwise entrepreneur, and he's this Marcus Coaching that he runs is to really help professionals meet or extend their own like personal limits. And I think that similar to our mentor network, you know, we can only do so much on our own, but we can always do so much more when we're working together with other people. And working with Peter over these last several weeks to design this meeting, I think has given me a lot of insight into what it means to be a really excellent coach and mentor. I feel like he has a wealth of expertise and he has probably a lot of the answers. But instead of telling me, like, this is how we should run this meeting, this is the answer, as we were planning this meeting, he would often ask the right questions, I feel like, to probe our thought. And then he also knew sort of exactly when to praise our ideas and say, oh, wow, I really love that idea. But then he also knew when to push back on some ideas and say, you know, is that how we should be thinking about this? And I think that's a great example of who he is as a coach. And it's also an example of him modeling these sort of exploratory relationships. And the idea that we don't, as mentors, we don't always have all the answers, but we can perhaps ask ask the right questions and provide some of our own insight, so that by the time your mentee gets to the answer that they get to, it feels like something that they did the work to get to, not something that someone just told them what the answer was. So with that as an extended introduction, I'll pass it on to Peter Marcus.
Yeah, we are gathered here today in support of our Watson student mentees, and what I've already heard is that support is magnificent. And as a word, magnificent kind of, that's the feeling I got. I certainly know some of the names that I see here, and some of the mentors that I'm aware of and have done some work with over the years. And I know the value. And there were I just took 3 words down from the mentor statement, from the mentor mission. And one was guidance, one was trust, and one was objectives. And I think that those 3 words to me really are, if there was a general guide that we could use, those would be 3 really kind of powerful words. And we'll be discovering more about that as we get into this conversation. I do want to make sure that everybody knows the chat box is open. Any questions, please put them in there. I'm sure that Alberto will kind of make sure that I get a view of them, and I'll see if I can answer them. Don't expect any brilliance, just expect that if you ask me a question, you'll probably get one back in return. So, I know how to kind of pass the buck so that we actually accomplish what it is that we set out to accomplish. And we've already heard a number of weeks ago, we got together in planning a mentor event. And at that time, the decision came up to make it an exploratory event. We know that we're facing uncertain times, and these times are ongoing. Whatever we thought was going to happen in February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, has always been confusing, and it's going to stay that way for quite a while. And we are faced with a situation that 50% approximately of our mentees are not on campus. A number of them are in areas of concern. A number of them have questions in regard to their families. Can they get back into the States? Can they get back into a fall or a winter or a spring session? Many questions come up. So the thought about being exploratory seemed to be a guide. This uncertainty leads to question. The question, we could say, yeah, these are some answers, or we could actually invite our mentees. Do I call them mentees or students? Who's got words for this? What do we call? I mean, I'm very lucky. I have two great students that I work with. One I'm into my third year, one I'm into my second year with. But I call them mentees. I actually call them by name, in truth, but I'm open to you know, mentees always sounds a bit weird. For me, you know, as a mentor, I go, well, mentee, I don't know. You know, it's easy because I go, well, it's Anthony or it's Jordan. So I kind of take it that way, and I really take away some of the formality of being in a relationship with another. As we engage in this, again, just use the chat box. We'll work through. So I'm going to check out on my wall board here some of the notes I made for this conversation, and some of the notes that I've been making throughout the times of working with Alberto and Tyler and Nicholas. So these are uncertain times. There are new restrictions. There are new and possible lockdowns. 50% of our student body is virtual. We're talking in areas of geography. We're facing variable degrees of uncertainty. We're sharing new and untried ways. So let's put that exploratory word back into some of these statements and have a think about what it is and who it is that we're working with. So mentees, students, Jadan, Anthony, easier for me. They're in positions of a new relationship most of the time. What does it mean to have a new relationship with somebody, A, that's probably of a different age group? I certainly am in a different age group than my two students. What does it mean for them? And how do we actually explore what it is that they're looking for in their lives? Now, we can come along and we can go by the guidebook and we can say, hey, you have to call me 2 times a month. And you have to send me an agenda, and that's what we'll work on. Or there are possibly other ways of viewing that relationship. And to me, again, we've all been put into the same boat here. It's I don't know if anybody remembers the movie where there was a blue pill and a red pill, and the choice was you took one or the other. I think it's kind of a famous old movie. But the reality is that we all took the same pill pretty much on the same day, and we're all living in these uncertain times. So we talk about mentoring, and for me, and I heard the word before, and thanks Nicholas, you know, the word of coaching came up, and I've been lucky enough to be coaching now for the last 23 years. But so often it feels like coaching, training, mentoring, and consulting are synonymous with each other. And there are similarities in the way that we use the words or we use the services and the way that we approach them. But I'd like to clear up some of the differences if anybody's got any questions about them, and I'd be happy to do that. In fact, I'm going to do it. You don't have to put it in the chat box. You know, it's my time here, so I'm going to utilize that time and say, look, you know, as a mentor in business, then my job is to introduce something that I know. As a mentor in this situation, my job is to introduce something that I've probably learned and I'm willing to share and pass on. And that's more of a personal basis. I mean, there may be times that we're talking about the students' venture, that we can bring some advice and guidance and support into. But mentoring really is about sharing one's own experience. Now, these are my thoughts on this. When we look at coaching, coaching is more about the creative side, and that's back down to the client or the coachee. What's the coachee called? He's a client to me. And in this case, we brought up the conversation before that when we got into this, thinking about how we can best support our students by possibly putting together a mission statement, it began to take shape as an exploratory way of being. So I want to bring us back into using that word. Now, a consultant, on the other hand, I said there were four. There was mentoring, coaching, consulting, and training. On the consultant's point of view, often as consultants, we'll bring forth a couple of options for a client or a relationship. Like, well, if we do this, we can expect that, or this is what we've learned, and that's, you know, which one would you choose to utilize? So that really is the consultant point of view, and the trainer point of view is, this is the way we do it around here. You put that box in that place and you write these words and you make that presentation. Very, very simple terms here. I can get into more depth on these, but I don't think that that's valid as we explore the opportunities that are there for us with our mentoring. The reason I brought those words up, and the reason I wanted to make that statement, was because as I look at the mentor cadre, I go, wow, what a group. You know, I mean, this is like one of the dream teams. You look around and you go, there's a lot of really good stuff here. So having a dream team and that comes from really ownership of their own businesses, whether they be consultants or coaches, whether they be technology, whether they be brick and mortar, whether they be service industries. But we're looking at a lot of owner conversations here together with our mentees. And the questions that we're looking at are, what does it mean to be an exploratory mentor? I'd welcome some words into chat box at this time, because the word of exploratory in itself can be rather confusing. You know, I mean, if I was an exploratory, if I was exploring a way of getting out of the jungle, then, you know, that would be one thing. But here we are talking about people's lives, people that come from different circumstance, come from different towns, different cities, different countries, different nationalities, different languages. We're really in the midst of opportunity and exploration with these people. So if at any time you've got comment on what does it mean to you to be an exploratory mentor, or why is being exploratory a best practice, or how can I be more exploratory in my mentorship? Now, again, I don't have the answers for this. So if you want them, you're going to have to work on them. But what we're going to do is we're going to welcome the opportunity to work on these relationships that we've got and to see how they really fit in with what's going on in the world today. And what is going on is vital for our students today and for our mentees. So many parts to this conversation. I do with Nicholas and Tyler and Alberto's kind of permission, open myself up for conversation at any time. It does have to be on WhatsApp or Skype or FaceTime at this time because I am on travel. So it helps my phone bill back in the States. And I'm always cognizant of like being a real human being here. But those are the questions. What does it mean to be an exploratory mentor? Why is being exploratory a best practice? And how can I be more exploratory in my mentorship? And I'm hoping that what you got from the way that we've approached this subject, the way that you have put your work into the mission statements and the exploration that we're doing today in bringing our cadre together and really utilizing the assets that we have available to us. And with that, I'm going to pass this back to Nicholas and say thank you for your time. And I'm here for Q&A.
I thank you so much, Peter. I don't know if you can see some of the things that are coming in the chat box. Madison said, or actually, instead of, I've been talking way too much. Madison, do you just want to share what you said?
I just said, for me, that means acknowledging my process when I don't have the answer, whether it's for them or in my own projects, and sharing with them the process I take when I feel stuck, when I need to go out and find answers.
Thanks, Madison. That's massive, right?
Peter, this is Jerry. One of the things that occurs to me too is, as I'm thinking about the mission statement, also thinking about one of the ingredients that go into the mission statement would be, what are the attributes of a good mentor? You know, what are the skill set that we bring that maybe is a little bit unique? But one of the things at the top of my list there would be really being a good listener and creating an environment in which the students is really willing to open up to what's going on before we get to maybe some of the more substantive things about really what's going on in their lives, which sometimes, as they've told me, they don't really know who to talk to about those kinds of things, and who will honestly listen to them. Their parents usually listen, but the parents have so many questions they want to ask them. And they're looking for someone that can listen attentively to what they're saying and then be able to provide some response to them as well.
Wow. Yeah, Jerry, that's really a vital part of what we do. I made a quick hit list for myself, which was, you know, of course, I've always got something to say, as Nicholas has found out. So my hit list goes like this. Exploratory could be introducing new business ideas. Exploratory could be implementing ways of questioning. Exploratory could be expansive in its attitude. Exploratory could be growth or a limiting belief. Exploratory could be organizational, or it could be a culturally expansive way of being. So, you know, let's place some of these words together with what you spoke about there, Jerry, and the attributes and I call it asset. This cadre is a massive, huge asset. And just the workings of it, this coming together that, you know, I know that Tyler's headed this team up, and, you know, it's been great for me getting to know her. And when working more recently with Nicholas and with Alberto, I found that they are really exploring ways of bringing real value here.
And I'd just like to add to some of those words that you were picking out. I think like in Madison's comment, I heard like emphasizing the process just as much, if not more, than the product is really important. And then sort of in what Jerry was saying and the comment that Manuel put in the chat box, I feel like is this idea of curiosity and like leading with curiosity.
If we have a moment, could I hear that question? Because I can't open my chat box right now. You know, I'm a dinosaur when it comes to technology, so it's like...
Absolutely. Manuel, do you want to read it, or?
Yeah, sorry, it wasn't as much of a question as more of an observation. I don't know, I found it quite interesting to think about. I don't know, sorry, I was a bit late into the call, and I wasn't aware we were exploratory mentors, but yeah, I don't know. As I was thinking of it, and as you were going through, sort of like taking us through it, I was just thinking of the antithesis or dichotomy of exploration, in the sense that, I don't know, my first thought was like, you're adventurous, you're strong, you're prepared. At the same time, you're going into the unknown. And so, to an extent, you're as vulnerable as you can be. And that, to me, at least, has been the way I've taken on this first year and the second year of just being quite open and happy to understand that I have no more clue than my mentee of what we're talking about, and that I'm willing to explore whatever is in our minds and try and share it. If there's one thing I think you also mentioned, the other thing I was thinking of was I see it as like my former self, or that my mentee is like my future self, if that makes sense. And not in the sense that I have answers or anything. It's just that, I've had a bit of a meandering experience and I can share that. And hopefully that relates and that resonates. As long as I'm willing to do it in my mind as honestly and as openly as possible. Because if not, you can be quite, I don't know. I think I can definitely need to like catch myself if I feel that I'm being condescending or almost fixing too much of a path, when I know fully well that it was my own path and that may not very well apply to someone. So I think I go back to as well, someone saying there, like, just gotta be a good listener as much as you can, and then make sure that whatever you're providing to it is just a point of view. But yeah, I don't know if that made sense.
Thanks. Yeah, I relate so much to what you said there. This thing that we, as a mentor, I personally have gotten so much that it's like, as a coach, I talk about getting a paycheck, right? I get my paycheck, but my paycheck is bigger than the actual fee transference. It's like, I get to work with some of the owners of huge multinational organizations, and that's massive for me. So the paycheck from the mentee is massive. It's like, there are so many aspects to paycheck. It's not about the money. It just is. It's so huge. And thanks for bringing those facts up about a lot is about who we are as individuals and how we interact with our mentees and how they are and how they interact with us. And a lot of it is a guide for our own life.
I love that. And kind of along the same lines, Marla, do you want to say what you just put in the chat box? Peter was just talking about it, how it can also be a guide to our own lives, and your comment starts with partnering. And so I think it leads well into your comment.
Thank you. So I'll make it quick. In my graduate school program, I had a mentor that really influenced my life, and we still keep in touch. So to me, that's one of the reasons I wanted to be a mentor, because it was so influential on myself. So I put, what did I put? Partnering with our students to guide them through the growth mindset and help them to identify new ideas and opportunities. Mm-hmm. So it's not telling them what to do, like Peter said, right? It's more like we're a partner in the process.
That's a good point.
Yeah, great. I love that commentary on Marla. Who are you? Oh, Marla, right? I've been gifted enough to know Marla for quite a period of time, and so I was making a joke there. It's my North of England humor. It comes out sometimes, It's like what happens in the cold and rain. You get this weird way of being.
And just to wrap us up a little bit, Ken made the comment that care plays a big role in this. And, as a high school teacher the last 5 years, there's a quote that sort of stuck out to me, and it was like, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And I think that holds true in your mentorship relationships as well. And I think that at the end of the day, you're all here because you all care. And the mentees see that, and I think that's what makes makes our mentor network so powerful, among so many other things. And so today during this event, I hope that you were able to see how we took an exploratory sort of framework to lead this meeting, in that we didn't say, we have the answers, here is our mentor network mission statement. We passed the sort of ball to all of you to say, what is our shared mission statement? What are we all here for? And then like going on, I think that throughout this meeting, hearing what each of you has to say, and it just reminds me of the wealth of knowledge and experience and expertise and insight that all of you bring to the table. And so while of course, I think all of you are always welcome to reach out to me. If your mentee brings up something that you feel is a little out of your depth, or you're struggling with something a little bit, definitely feel free to reach out to me. But I think you can also reach out to the mentor network as a whole, and lean on each other, because I surely don't have all the answers for how to be a great mentor, but I think together as a group, we can address any issue, any of these uncertainties that our students are facing, and work through them together. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate all of you taking the time to be here on a Tuesday afternoon. And I will stick around a little bit if anybody has any questions, but otherwise I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and I know it's 2:02 already, so we're already 2 minutes over. If you can't stick around or don't have any questions, then I hope you all have a great afternoon.
Nice.
And thank you, Peter, so much for helping us facilitate this meeting.
Thank you. I will stay around.
Wonderful.
Great. Thank you, everyone.